Hey friends, I'm so happy to be back here with you today. I've been really sick, and so I just took some time to recover and get better and try to get adjusted to the new me. On my last video, I was kind of getting sick a little bit at the end. During that time, I was trying to get a little bit sick, and I was coughing a lot, and I am still coughing some. So please excuse me. I'm sorry about that ahead of time. And I do have some tea that I'll try to sip on to keep my throat a little bit wet. I may even have to get a cough drop. I don't know. But anyway, after that video, I started coughing a lot and was just kind of getting sick feeling and such. And I was having a lot of doctor's appointments. I wasn't going to the doctor because I was getting sick then. I just had these appointments already scheduled. It was mainly appointments for follow-up from when I had the stroke. I was seeing like this family doctor that had saw me when I had the stroke, and the rheumatologist and the neurologist. So I had like tons of appointments. And the neurologist did get me she suggested that I get a walker. And, you know, not what I wanted to do. But, you know, she said, you know, you got to use things that will help you. So I agreed, and she wrote me a prescription, and I took it to the medical equipment place, and they worked with insurance, and I had to pay my part, and insurance paid their part or whatever. So I got a shiny red walker. It's really nice when it has the 4 wheels in the seat, so that when I am out using it, I can sit down and rest my left leg some before trying to carry on. So I will say that it has been helpful. It was just my stubbornness of not wanting to use it. But anyway, and then I had a doctor's appointment for out of town. I needed an open MRI, and we do not have that in my town, so I had to, the hospital arranged for me to have it done in a town 2.5 hours from us. So my husband and I got up one morning really early and made the trip to Shreveport to have the open MRI. And my husband said, right when we were just about there, like, I don't know why he didn't mention this the day before or the morning of, because it never crossed my mind. We're just about there, he said, how are you going to get an MRI done with you coughing like that? Well, turns out you don't. So I went in and got ready for the MRI. And got to the table and everything and tried to lay back on my, flat on my back. And I couldn't lay there without coughing. And I was coughing pretty hard. So she said, we're going to have to reschedule. So I hated that we made the trip all the way over there for that and then couldn't get it done. And the truth be told, I'm not going to be able to get it done because I'm always coughing. And when I lay flat on my back, I really am coughing. I can't breathe. So anyway, I don't know when I'll be able to get that done. They did reschedule it, but I wasn't able to go at that time either. So we left the MRI place where I was getting that done. And we always have a few places that we go when we're in that town. I like to go to Joann's because we don't have a Joann's here. We have a Michael's in my town and then a Hobby Lobby in the next town over. But that's the closest Michael's. It's 2.5 hours away. So I went in Michael's, and my husband drove way out into the parking lot to sit and wait on me. I've said before that he has problems with his knees. He's walking with a cane. his meniscus is torn in his knee, and so he, wasn't going to come in Michael's in Hobby Lobby. No, where was that? I was at Joann's. I'm so sorry. He wasn't going to come in Joann's and try to hobble around on his bad knee. So he just drove way out into the parking lot to sit and wait on me, and then when I get finished, I'd let him know, and he would drive up to get me. So when I got finished, I stepped outside. It was drizzling rain. It had been snowing in Shreveport that morning, and it was down like 30 degrees, and the wind was blowing really hard, and it was just freezing cold. Now in Louisiana, 30 degrees is really cold for us. Our temperature tips will drop down to such coldness, but they usually just, go right back up. So to us, 30 degrees is super cold. And I called my husband to come and get me. He called me back a few minutes later and said, the truck won't crank. You're going to have to walk out here. And I was just like, oh man, because it was like way out into the parking lot. And so I had to walk way out. And I didn't have the walker with me at the time because I rode the cart while I was in Joann's. So I walked way out to the truck and breathing in that super cold air, and I was just wore out, huffing and puffing, and that did not do my lungs any good. So I was coughing and coughing, and we were freezing cold. And then both of us take Lasix, and our medicine had kicked in, and so we kept having to make trips to the store to use the restroom, and sometimes I'd go to the Petco next to it just so I wasn't going in the same store over and over and over to use the restroom. So we're in our broke down truck trying to figure out what to do. We did find someone to come and try to jump the truck off, but it wasn't the battery. But we didn't know what the issue was, but we knew it wasn't the battery. And we had just put a new battery in the truck like a week or week and a half before. So we didn't know what to do. We were trying to figure out, get a hotel room, how are we going to get the truck home, just what we needed to do. So we ended up staying in Shreveport that night, and we were just continuously working on, trying to find somebody to take a look at the truck, not only to be able to work on our truck, but that could go to the Joann's parking lot where the truck was. And so we worked on that like all that night and the rest of the day. Finally, late the next day, about 4, 5 o'clock, we were someone from our town was able to come over and pick us up to bring us back home, and we just had to leave our truck there. So we finally got home, and I was like so sick, just horrible sick. My husband, went to work the next day because he had missed a day of work since we were stuck in Shreveport. And my oldest son was off that day, so he went with someone else to try to get our truck and get it back home. And they were able to get it home, but really didn't fix it at the time. Just luckily the truck, after they had fiddled with it all day, it just cranked, and they was able to get it home. And so then a couple days later, I had a follow-up with my rheumatologist, and so I told my husband, I said, I don't know if I'm going to go. I'm just too sick to even go. And he's like, no, you need to go do this follow-up. So I went, and I get in to see the doctor, and he comes in, and he's just like, what is wrong with you? And he listens to me, and I was just wheezing so bad. He put me straight in ICU. Now, keep in mind, I wasn't even going to go to the doctor because I was too sick to go. He put me in ICU, and on breathing treatments and high doses of steroids because my lungs were in bad condition. And so I stayed in there, and I eventually moved to a regular room, but he kept me in the hospital doing breathing treatments every 3 hours and high doses of steroids and just all these other meds and stuff. So I was in the hospital for a week, and I was, besides doing the breathing treatments, I was also having to do these breathing tests. And he said that I wasn't going to be able to go home until I could do these breathing tests without coughing. And so I was just like, oh, I'm going to live here then? I mean, I just can't imagine my lungs getting to the point where I could do that and not cough. So anyway, the hospital, well, of course I didn't want to be there, but they're really nice, and the staff's really nice and everything. So it wasn't like, I just was trying to get out. I wanted to get better, but I wanted to be home too. So Thanksgiving morning, I woke up, and usually they come around and taking your vital signs. The morning nurse comes in. They bring your breakfast tray, and the doctor comes. This all usually happens about between 7 and 8 o'clock. It's in and out, these people. Well, no one came to my room. So I just thought, well, it's Thanksgiving Day. They probably just, a little bit lax today. Things aren't running on schedule or whatever. So I'm just there in my room chilling. I don't know, maybe I was watching TV. I don't know what I was doing. But the morning rocked on. I really wasn't paying attention to the time or anything. And this lady come into the room, and she said, I'm here to get your breakfast tray. And I said, oh, they haven't brought it yet. And she said, oh, no, ma'am, they brought those a long time ago. I said, well, they didn't bring mine yet. And she said, let me go check on that. And so she leaves out, and the nurse comes in, and she said, well, I have some bad news. She said, someone accidentally marked you as deceased, and we're trying to get you put back in the system. I was just like, what? Marked me as deceased? So that's why they didn't come get my vitals. That's why no doctor came to see me. That's why the morning nurse hadn't been in. That's why they didn't bring my food tray. It's because I was deceased. And so she came in a couple of times and said they were, still trying to get me put back in the system. And the hospital has a MyChart thing where you can go online and check your information, your appointments, and test results and things like that. So I got my phone and went and tried to log in on that to see what my information was saying. It wouldn't let me log in. And so I mentioned to the nurse while she was in the room that I can't log in on MyChart. And she said, yeah, they canceled you out of the system because you're deceased. So a doctor came that I had never saw before. I guess maybe he was the doctor on call for Thanksgiving. I don't know. He came in and he's like, oh, are you ready to go home? And so I was like, okay. I know my doctor had said I wasn't going home the day before. He said, no, you're not going home. You're not going to go home until you can do these breathing tests without coughing. And so I was just like, okay. Because I really did want to come home for Thanksgiving. My kids were wanting to do, cook and plan Thanksgiving. So they let me come home. And I think they let me come home because I was deceased. I wasn't in their system. They couldn't give medications to a dead person. They can't chart for a dead person. They can't give breathing treatments for a dead person. So I think it was easier to let me come home than to try to get me back in the system on Thanksgiving Day when a lot of, the office people and such are not at work that day. So I came home and then I got really sick. Like, I just don't know. I wasn't this sick in the hospital. Once I came home, I lost my voice for about a week. And I was just really sick. I, didn't feel like eating or anything for several days. I was just pretty weak and miserable. And so I decided to just give myself some time to heal and rest. And once I got my voice back, I've still been coughing an awful lot. But just trying to accept the new me. Because each time I have a setback in my health, it's like I kind of have to get used to the new me. Because in my mind, I can do lots of things that my body says, oh, no, you can't. So I took a long time for recovery and then as I would, think I was getting better, and I would try to record and do a video, then I would just start coughing all again. And so I made the decision a few days ago to just go ahead and do the breathing treatments like I was doing in the hospital, even though they didn't send me home on breathing treatments. So I'm trying to do that now, is do the breathing treatments pretty regularly and get my lungs back up again. But I did get marked as alive again in the hospital system. All my appointments were canceled, and I could see on the computer screen the reason for cancellation was deceased. So I had to go up to the hospital and talk to someone and get all my appointments lined back out. So, and the neurologist had put me on physical therapy and occupational therapy. So all those appointments got canceled out because I was deceased. But I'm alive and well and kicking and just trying to get back on track. Now that Christmas is over, focus on 2019. And I have lots of ideas and things coming up. And I hope you will join me and come hang out with me some more and see what 2019 brings. I hope you all had a great Christmas, and I hope you have a wonderful year to come. Thanks.